Hello, guys. Welcome to Bears Boldy Goes Reviews Strange New Worlds.
Oh yeah, or Strange New Bears, or something like
We've
that.
not given it
Yeah,
on the
we
YouTube's.
didn't.
It's just titled
Mm,
Bears Boldy Go Review Star Trek Strange New Worlds,
mm,
or Star
that,
Trek Strange New Worlds in review. I don't know, something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
Hey, today you can see a pile of plastic next to me.
Mm. What strange pile of plastic have you
It's
got there, then,
Warhammer.
James? Ah, okay.
It's Warhammer on sprues that has to be
Mm,
constructed
mm.
because my
Because
nerdry
you've
doesn't
got it.
end with Star Trek.
No, no. I mean, it's same with a lot of us, really. I mean, I'm
Thinking
not into
of
that.
getting some shelves for here. Gonna go on
Oh
top
yeah.
of this unit here, and I'm gonna
Mm.
put my armies on display within the like square shelving blocks.
Very nice. Very nice.
So that might be something
Um.
that's on display for you folks at home soon. For
Well,
anyone watching who's
for
like, I wish I could see more Warhammer on this Star Trek channel.
there must be
You know,
people out
America
there that.
delivers us the optimistic future, while
Mm,
Britain gives us, in the grim dark future, there is only war.
and hammers.
There is
Yeah.
hammers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose it's to forge the war,
Before we get on to
to
Star
build.
Trek, and why I'm
Mm,
just slightly off on this tangent,
mm.
some really cool Warhammer games announced at Skulls Fest the past week.
As in tabley warhammers
No,
or
video
computer
games.
gamey. Yeah, yeah. There's some cool looking ones.
One of
Yeah.
them was called Bolt Gun or
Mm.
Bolter, which is one of the guns in Warhammer. The
Yeah, yeah.
famous gun. It's the famous Warhammer gun.
Mm.
But it's a '90s Doom clone.
Oh, nice.
It looks so good, and great trailer leading up to it. It starts with like someone opening a box of old toys, and in it is like a
Mm.
box of old '90s Warhammer,
Nice.
and then he gets a floppy disk out,
Mm.
and it's got the game on it, and then it's like this Doom clone that's
Oh, that's
Warhammer. It
cool.
looks like it's out next year. It looks great. But yes, Star
Speaking
Trek.
it. Speaking
Speaking
of
of
cool
great,
game trailers, though, have you seen the Goat Simulator 3 trailer
I
yet?
have not. I've
You
heard
need
it's a
to.
spoof of a Dead Island trailer.
It is, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. But on that note, for my visual pleasure, I will be drinking
Romulan Ale.
some Romulan ale today. So, nice blue drink. I'm sure it's very good for me. It's it's actually that mystery Fanta.
Ah, I do like Mystery Fanta.
Mm, yeah.
This year's Mystery Fanta isn't blue. It's like,
No, this is an old one
yeah. I liked
that I
that
just
year's
had in
batch of Mystery Fanta.
the cupboard.
Yeah, this year's is green.
Mm,
It's not as nice.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as nice.
This is the peach and tomato flavor one.
Was that what flavour it was?
That's what it was. Yeah, it was peach and tomato.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised I
Mm.
liked it as much as I liked.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was really nice. I
It's
just thought
predominantly peach with like just a
Yeah.
little layer of
I mostly just
tomato.
thought it tasted blue.
Mm. Um, Now, talking of lovely flavors and things like that, Captain Pike, keen chef. What's he been up to, James?
I
What
thought you were
since
revealing
since?
a crush on Captain Pike there.
I mean, to be honest, if you're gonna have a man crush on anyone, like for us
Well,
uh, straight males out there, like if you're gonna fancy someone, it's got to be Captain Pike.
we're doing a
That silver fox.
we're doing a twofer today.
We are doing a
We're
two.
reviewing episode 4, Memento Mori first.
Mm-hmm.
This episode set on an anniversary of the Klingon Wars, or something along those lines. Every crew member has basically a memento badge for potentially ships they had relatives on, or ships they served on, or ships they had friends on during the war, ships that were lost. Pike has a Discovery one on, I think, actually,
Oh, is that what he's wearing?
because Discovery
Cool.
would officially be lost in action.
It would be, yeah.
But yeah, this episode is a highlight on Lan Noonien Singh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They answer a distress call where a colony, is it a colony or is it a ship?
I think it was a ship.
Something has been attacked by a mysterious unknown enemy, and I think it was a colony, and then some evacuees were on
it's a colony on a planet.
Yeah, but there's some evacuees on a ship, and they go. They can't beam anyone over, so they create a space transporter.
Yeah, like just a tunnel.
Yeah, basically the things you get. Thing that takes you from boarding to your plane at an airport, effectively.
We've seen them quite a lot in Star Trek before as well. So it's not something that we haven't seen before. They're triangular shape on Star Trek, I think, aren't they? So
this was definitely square.
Was it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it creates a little.
Or maybe
bridge
it is
between
triangular. I don't know. I've got a picture of it here.
Yeah.
It's square, but it has
some
triangle patterns within it.
And then what happens next, James?
They get attacked.
By a weird, swirly-looking ship. It was very interesting because it had some very strange shapes to it. It was certainly not the usual flavour of ship.
And Lard recognises the strategy as that of the Gorn.
The Gorn.
Which we don't ever see, so it keeps canon intact as well. The Enterprise in the TOS episode is still the first kind of official sighting of the Gorn.
Of a real Gorn, yeah. In like face-to-face, person-to-person.
Although I'm assuming Lan has seen Gorn, but...
Yeah, but it's... I mean, obviously, as it goes on in the episode, she would have seen them in a very dark environment.
It's what she says to... I forget who she says.
And she's relatively young as well, isn't she? When she does see them.
Yes, happens to as a kid. I forget who she said it to, but she points out that the only that lots of people have seen for Gorn, just none of them are alive today.
Yeah.
When someone points out how no one's ever seen them.
Yeah.
And we get some classic submarine in this episode.
This was, I mean, a lot of...
it's a combat episode, for sure.
No, 100%. But I mean, with Wrath of Khan...
Yes.
That's a submarine film, realistically. That's Hunt for Red October.
At least for certainly the latter...
The latter part of it. The final battle, the final fight. Whereas this is much more of the episode.
Yes, we hide in a brown dwarf that's been sucked into a black hole. And
so a very safe space.
Yeah. And they're all trying to outmaneuver the Gorn. People are getting injured. Number one gets stuck in sick bay because and
bad enough that even number one with her semi-regenerative powers needs actual surgery and doctor's help
and blood transfusion
and a blood transfusion. So quite a severe. One would assume,
of course,
an injury that probably would have killed someone else.
Spoilers for all these episodes.
Yeah, of course.
But and you have Pike having to make some tough
decisions.
Like as they're putting the ship at risk, the bottom decks of the ship start to kind of crumple. And I text you about it not long after watching it. There's the wonderful line where he has to make the call to close off the deck, and you see Chief Kyle and another officer, not another officer, even an officer or an ensign or some kind of
someone who lives on the ship anyway.
Yeah,
could be a member of the crew. They do have a few guests. Apparently, that was a little throwaway line that there was a few non-crew members on board as
I
well.
think this was an Ensign Todd,
Mm,
but he's injured and Chief Kyle's helping him, and they'll run into the door as it's about to close, and obviously the ensign realizes he can't make it,
yeah.
so he pushes Chief Kyle through,
Mm.
and obviously doors shut, he gets sucked out into space, and he's the only crew member they lose.
On screen, I'm sure that Pike later says that they did lose a few more.
Yes,
I think it's the only that
the
we
only one they
see.
lose in this action of closing off that
Mm,
deck, and
yeah.
Spock points out how he made the logical choice,
Mm,
and Captain Pike's like, "Why does it not feel like that?" And Spock says, "Like for the same reason you made the decision, you value life." And it's such a great line, and it
mm,
brings to mind the classic Bones Kirk moment in Search for Spock,
yeah.
where obviously he's blown up the Enterprise, and he says, he says, "What have I done?" And Bones like, "You've done the same thing you always do. You took death and turned it into like a fighting chance for life." And it's such a. This is where Star Trek can sing,
Yeah.
and
Just some lovely little dialogue that, as we've discussed in previous episodes, delivered by some magnificent cast.
yeah, the cast is
Um,
starting to really fire now. I think
oh yeah, yeah.
they're
Like
whatever kind of the kinks feel much more ironed out, and it feels like they're
I
operating
think
on kind of
it's been a very wise decision that instead of it being a focus of villain of the week, it's almost been a crew member of the week that
yes.
happens to have a villain to conquer.
We had
Um, it feels like how I would have thought a Mass Effect TV series would have been. You know,
yeah
in obviously Mass Effect 2 in particular and 3, the loyalty missions would have made outstanding episodes for an episodic
yeah.
show of Mass
Well,
Effect,
we're
and this feels a bit like that.
we're finding out here as well that Uhura is going from department to department as a cadet.
Mm.
She's
Well,
not
she's a lower decker.
she's not just here to do comms,
Mm.
and she's in engineering this week.
Mm.
And her and Hem obviously get trapped, and there's some wonderful moments between them as well. I'm loving Hemmer.
Yeah, cracking new character. And I mean, to be honest, I think like if anything, the new characters almost have slightly more weight on their shoulders in a way than the established characters, because
Yeah,
even obviously, like say Uhura, this is the first time this version of Uhura's been on screen, but because us as an audience know where she's going, that one, and obviously I suppose for the actress, knowing that the writing is so good and the direction's been
yeah,
so good, and it's like that must be quite nice for her. Whereas for the new characters who have, in a way, nothing to aim for, they've got a little bit more proving to do. And again, I think that's where these like loyalty mission episodes have actually worked really nicely, because you're getting to explore the new characters, and the existing characters are almost kind of
and
our narrators,
I'm
if
gonna
anything.
move us on at that point because this is a solid episode.
Oh, it's a wonderful
This is a
episode.
really good
I,
episode.
I think this was the one that Anson Mount said was his favourite
Yeah,
on Twitter. And I've only seen 5 episodes. I know you've seen episode 6 now.
yes,
And I would say so far this is possibly my favourite. I think 5 may take it for a different reason because it's a wholly different themed and
Yes,
feeling episode.
and
But
that is
I
where
think
I'm going to take us, because what you were just saying there about how we've had a little focus on each of the characters, I think that all comes together in 5,
yes,
where we go for a full comedy episode. But Star Trek, when it does well, does very well usually.
oh yeah,
This,
yeah.
I mean, in many ways, this is a TOS era equivalent of a holodeck episode.
I suppose it is, yeah, because it's using the fantasy element of Star Trek. Excuse me, and obviously we've mentioned Search for Spock already.
Oh yeah, we get some
This,
proper Vulcan magic here.
yeah, this is all the shit that happens in Search for Spock, but in a really, really kind of hilarious at times and quite touching rom-com.
Yeah, so this is episode 5, Spock Amok. Or Spock Amok.
Yeah, it'd be a muck, but I think obviously
I prefer Spock Amok.
yeah.
But,
I don't know what the pronunciation would be in the States, so it might be.
It's a play in Duck Amok. But also Amok is a title that comes into play in various Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Amok Time and but yeah, this is a shore leave episode. The whole crew is effectively on shore leave. But,
and shore leave episodes are always a little weird.
But Admiral April has wrote Pike into some negotiations while they're on shore leave. The problem is a Tellarite ambassador seems to have pissed off this species they're negotiating with, so they get Pike in to negotiate. That is firmly the C story of this episode.
It is, although it's lovely. It's really nicely done. Obviously, it does weave in with the A story of the episode.
So you see them all go into their shore leave. Mbanga is really, really excited to get some fly fishing in.
Yeah, and he's like full fishing nerd, isn't he? Like he's proper hat that like
and
with all of his.
Nurse Chapel is going on to meet up with someone she's having a fling with. It seems that Ortegas is serving as her wingman. And their bits are great.
Yeah.
But why they're about to beam down or beam across for their shore leave, Mbanga accidentally let slip that the crew refer to number 1 as where fun goes to die. Because number 1 and Lan are staying on the ship.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of stuff you can do when no one else is on the ship. And
including like lots of extra checks and stuff like that, and recalibrations and things.
And they end up discovering.
It was very much a. It was very much an. If Amy Santiago was in Star Trek.
Yeah, they end up discovering that various crew, maybe the lower deck crew, play something called Enterprise Bingo, and they start trying to check off these same things. Which
is in Lower Decks. I'm sure that Bingo is a Lower Decks thing. Yeah, I am loving that they are acknowledging Lower Decks.
Yes,
at least some of the ideas that Lower Decks has brought forward.
And what you get then is now number 1 alone trying to figure out how to have fun.
Yeah,
like the scene where they're about to phaser each other and number 1 chickens out, but Lon still shoots her. And I love their friendship as well. Like, it's a really solid relationship.
Well, I mean, they've got enough in common, being that, like, obviously one definitely is genetically modified. The other probably still has some sort of leftovers from their ancestry. So they are both very much outsiders. They're both very career driven. They're both
Where
quite
fun
tough as
goes to die.
nails. Well, I mean, the other thing, and again, obviously, this is like going back to like Star Trek as a social commentary on our lives, is that your women quite often have to appear stronger in positions of power to be taken as seriously as the men in those positions of power. And it's something that actually in that episode where we find out about number one's past,
Yeah.
I saw some discourse online about it, and again, it was a beautifully done representation of that, because it wasn't so in your face that it was like, this is what we're talking about. But there was a nice layer there that if you want to look for it and you want to talk about it, Star Trek yet again was having the right conversations. But of course, it's not political, James. It's not political.
But we've avoided the main plot here.
We have.
T'Pring has come to visit Spock.
Who, by the way, again, perfect casting.
Yeah, who has... and I think with her as well, I think we're seeing more and more of this, like... Vulcan's adherence to logic is a little bit bullshittery. Like, their whole, like, no emotions happen here is very... like, over New Trek, like, whether it be in Discovery, whether it be here, there is that appearance of, like, no, we don't feel emotion.
But then I do feel like maybe... I mean, let's face it, she is attracted to and betrothed to a half Vulcan, half human.
Who is concerned that he's
so
too human for her, right? That's one of the driving.
Well, that's his weird. That's his fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the episode opens actually with him having a nightmare where he has to fight himself.
Yes.
And that was lovely.
Yeah,
Getting
Vulcan...
the classic original series fight music.
I love there's a gag later on as well where he's asking Nurse Chapel for assistance and advice. And I think later on she tells someone, and someone says something to her like, "What, you came between? You interfered in Vulcan romance? Do you know? Don't know that gets it. You hit with one of those, whatever the weapon is we're using. They sting."
Yeah.
And you have and Nurse Chapel's great throughout this episode. But
she almost steals the B plot here.
Oh, she does steal the B plot.
Because I mean, you could argue that it's number one, and Enterprise Bingo. But I think
she's not
probably
the B. I'd say she's part of the A plot though.
Who?
Nurse Chapel.
Yeah,
because her arc is her realizing she's deeply into Spock. Like her arc is her realizing, like, oh no, I've got feelings for the.
Is that how you read it?
That's 100% have that. Because don't forget, TOS Nurse Chapel has a thing for Spock.
Yeah, but I sort of didn't.
Here's where
read
you're
it
seeing
way.
that form. It's like when, because don't forget, at the end when she's asked, you get the moment where she's wistfully thinking of Spock, where she's like, "Oh no, there's only one kind. Like there's one maybe," and she's.
Who was the other officer that she was with? The wingman.
Ortegas.
As such, I thought there was an implication that it was Ortegas.
I think we're gonna get something there.
Yeah,
definitely. But I also think part of this episode is realizing she's kind of into Spock.
Yeah. Which is nice, because it could go either way. So,
but
I mean, we're hopefully going to get enough of them that they can.
Because we obviously
explore.
know Spock and T'Pring doesn't work out.
No, it doesn't. No.
But and we still haven't got to Spock and T'Pring swap bodies.
Because this is a Freaky Friday episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a case of so much cool stuff happens in this episode that we haven't got to that point yet. The main.
Yeah, the fact that they switch bodies, which, as I said, it's essentially a direct reference to Search for Spock. This deals with the same Catra swapping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is obviously done in a much more dramatic manner in the end of Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock. But this sort of just makes it almost normal in a way. They're like, oh, we've done it again. Like,
Well, I don't think they've ever
but,
encountered
like,
this before. Because they're both
no,
very
well,
surprised and shocked at how this is possible.
I think they haven't, but I got the feeling that it was something that was known to have happened to other Vulcans. Because remember, at this point,
I like that you get...
even mind melding was a relatively new thing for the wider Vulcan culture. Because that was brought back into the Vulcan culture during Captain Archer's era, which was only 100 or so years before this.
Yeah, so they do the meditation to try and see each, because Spock is doing his... They've come to meet up, and they like T'Pring has made the effort to put her assistant on the work so she doesn't have to do it, cook Spock a meal, but Spock just goes and does his job.
Essentially, he just comes home late, but it was so late that, like,
Yeah.
And he obviously just didn't even call. Like, in a time of like instant communicators and
Spocked
stuff
it.
like that, like he Spocked it. Yeah, he just like.
And this is as we've said before, this is still like a young, less self-aware Spock. I think the Spock that's first officer to Kirk is a much more wry kind of self-aware man, while this Spock is still not, like...
Yes.
And so to see each other's points of view, they decide to do the kind of swapping of, but they end up caught in each other's bodies. And
it's like sort of a super mind meld in a way, where they get to like fully explore each other's mind.
They do a great job of playing each other.
Yes, yeah.
And so you end up with
which is even more impressive, considering that like she's not necessarily in the series that much. I mean, I know she's been in 2 episodes so far, but like it's not like she's a main cast.
Yeah,
like,
who's seeing it?
Yeah. So they must have really sat down and done their homework and like decided, oh, well, this is your set of gestures and postures, and this is my set of gestures and postures, and
T'Pring as Spock has to go to the diplomatic meetings. Spock as T'Pring effectively has to go and apprehend a Romulan criminal, because it turns out T'Pring's job is bringing...
No, it was a Vulcan.
Oh yeah, sorry, Vulcan. My mistake. Yeah, I just mixed up my a Vulcan criminal, because that's T'Pring's job, is bringing Vulcan extremists to... She basically hunts for cyborgs of the world to return them to logic's path.
Oh, that would be a damn good episode.
It would. And
if T'Pring has to go after Cyborg.
The Vulcan they meet is a bit of a prick. Spock ends up decking him. Takes Nurse Chapel with him, and
while in T'Pring's body.
Yeah. I love a bit at the end where they obviously swap back, and
because Nurse Chapel knows this at this point as well, because they'd had that heart-to-heart in the bar. Spock has obviously realised that Nurse Chapel is a good friend and he can trust her.
Yeah.
She kind of becomes the sidekick quite briefly.
But yeah, I love the bit at the end, towards the end, when obviously T'Pring and Spock are in bed, and he's like, "I've got to be honest, I punched him," and she was like, "That seems logical."
Yeah. Having met him, that seems logical.
I also love when they're in the medical bay, getting swapped back, and we get another medical. Maybe it's because I've seen so much Voyager recently, but you get another medical professional who's just like, bloody Vulcan magic.
Yeah.
Like, because you see it, Robert Picardo does it a lot in Voyager, where never,
Mm.
like, during various things, just like, this is, everything you do here is just majorly irresponsible from a medical stance. Like,
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a great episode.
really good episode. I love the new species as well.
Yes, and I love how Pike figured it out, and
I got it early.
yeah,
Yeah, I saw what was happening. In fact, I got it when they were talking to the Tellarite because I
yeah,
knew it was I knew the reason that they'd chosen a Tellarite. It was, obviously to show because and then when they first introduced themselves, they were saying how that they're an empathic species.
yeah.
So they essentially mimic the mood of the person or people that they are
But they're
encountering.
wanting someone to do the reverse.
Yeah, they want someone to like kind of try and make them not agree with them,
Yeah,
and in turn that persuades them to join the Federation. So
that
they're
ship was
they're in.
gorgeous as well. The solar sail ship.
Oh,
Count
I love
Dooku
it.
would be
Yeah.
proud.
Well, you see, really, the solar sail ship was first seen in Star Trek
Yeah, but the most
as
famous
the.
one is Count Dooku's.
No, it's Cisco's. It's Cisco's. Cisco's is better.
But yeah, two great episodes of Star Trek here.
Two very good episodes of Star Trek, and not just in that they're good TV, but it's been excellent Star Trek.
Yeah,
It's been absolutely excellent Star
it
Trek.
has.
Like in a very traditional manner, obviously, but with all the modern sensibilities. But
Yeah, I very much
like,
like serialized and episodic Star Trek, and I'm glad we're getting some episodic Star Trek. I know Lower Decks has been episodic as well, but
mm,
pardon me.
but I mean, to be honest, as we've said before, Lower Decks is of such a high quality that I do consider it on the same level as I consider all of the new stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
that like
I
it
mean,
deserves every single bit of credit
I
that
think
you
up
can
to this,
possibly throw
Lower
at it.
Decks may have been my favourite new Trek. This may be
Mm,
by the end of it might have, but I don't know yet. And I think on that
no,
note,
no,
we'll say good night.
we will.
We'll see
Good night,
you
everyone.
for the next two episodes.
Yeah, because two at a time seems to
Yeah,
be quite nice.
it does.
Yeah.
And remember, guys, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper, everyone. See you all soon.